All right, everyone, we are finally recording. So welcome to this mini Akashic Record Training Masterclass. Thanks all for joining. Really appreciate you all being here. It's nice to see some new faces because mostly with my webinars, I get my repeat students, repeat clients, which is also amazing, but it's nice to have some new faces on, and especially to meet people from around the world. So if you haven't already, just pop into the chat where you are tuning in from, just to say hi. And I recommend that you keep yourself on mute. If you want to turn off your video, you're more than welcome to, but entirely up to you if you would like to remain on screen. I'm going to be presenting anyway. I'm going to be sharing the screen shortly once there's still a few people coming in. Hawaii, amazing. Wow. Aloha. Hi, Sheila. Nice to see you. Yeah, there's still some people jumping in. So I'm going to after this last round, I'm not going to let anybody else in. So just bear with me. I'm going to see from Malawi. Oh, wow. Amazing. Agonyetsi. I'm hoping I'm pronouncing that right. Agonyetsi. Beautiful. But yeah, welcome from Malawi. I love it. I love having all these beautiful international places. So yeah, good morning, everyone who's joining in a couple of minutes after we started. I hope you're all well. I'm just asking everyone to type into the chat where you're all from, just so we can build a little bit of group energy. From London, amazing. Hi, Gladys. And yeah, so there's over 100 people have signed up for this, as I was just saying before we started recording, and there are a lot in the US as well, so I guess most will be watching on the replay. So hi to everyone who's watching later on the replay. You will still get the benefits of the clearings and things that we're going to do towards the end of the session, because as you know, we're working in the quantum field. There is no, time is not linear. It is expansive, infinite, and ever evolving. So you'll still receive the clearings in real time. So from Greece, from New Zealand, yeah, that's okay. You're more than welcome to keep your cameras off. Don't worry. It's for me, I honestly don't mind. Keep your cameras off, keep yourself, make sure you're all on mute so there's no disturbances. Jordan Azrak, amazing. Yeah. So thanks everyone for sending me your locations. I am Mia from the UK originally, but I left the UK around 30 years ago, lived in Spain for 10 years, and then I've been living out in Thailand for the last 9 years, and before that, Bali, Vietnam, and various places. Definitely a traveller. And the beauty of being able to work online is being able to take my office with me, my office being my laptop, and working online, which is what we do when we're working with Akashic Record. And of course, when we're working in the quantum where everything's remote. Can you play everyone? Oh, okay, beautiful. Joe is originally from the UK too, but living in New Zealand. Yes, we Brits really want to get out of the UK, right? It's literally built into us that we just want to escape the cold weather. Having said that, it's sometimes a little bit too hot over here in Thailand, as I'm sure it is in Australia and New Zealand in the summer as well. Anyway, so just a little bit about me before I start. So I've been teaching this particular body of work this is my probably 6.5 year now. I've guided and shared this work with hundreds of students who have become Akashic readers and quantum healers. And it's a really beautiful and very powerful modality to integrate into your current work. So do type into the chat if the screen distorts and there's any breakup. Just pop into the chat if there's any disturbances, because occasionally there might be. We've got quite stormy weather over here at the minute, so sometimes it can distort a little bit the Wi-Fi signal. Yeah, breaking up a little bit. Yeah, it can do from time to time, unfortunately. It's just telling me that I'm connecting to  new Wi-Fi. Yeah. Just bear with me. Okay, perfect. All right, so I'm just going to share the screen. Bring up the presentation. So as I was saying, I've been teaching this work for around 6 years now. And I've been in this healing field for approximately 20 years as a Reiki teacher, yoga teacher, meditation teacher, been healing, quantum touch, kinesiology. I've done many trainings, theta healing, and I've been working on my own traumas. Of course, how all healers get started, right? We have our own issues we want to heal. And through that, then we, of course, become, we see the beauty and the benefits of the work that we've done and how we're healing ourselves, how we're helping ourselves, how we're changing and evolving. And then, of course, we want to step into some of us who are called to that work. Of course, we want to step in and help other people as well. But it's a constant healing journey that we're on ourselves. It's not just that we heal our traumas and everything's hunky-dory and tickety-boo, because we're dealing with systemic traumas as well, micro traumas, and constant layers and layers of generational trauma and layers of micro trauma from systemic interferences. And then, of course, all of the layers of stuff that's coming up from other lifetimes and layers of symptoms, everything. There's just so much of it. But for me, being on a personal healing journey for 10 years and never really fully healing, it was only when I started working with the Akashic record that I really started shifting things on a much deeper level. And this is why I love to share this work and why I literally shout from the rooftops about Akashic record work. It's not woo-woo. It's not spiritual blah, blah. It really is grounded in metaphysics, and it is also grounded in science, which I'll share with you shortly. So a little bit of kind of scientific/metaphysical information about it. So it's not just about working on a spiritual level. It's literally a multidimensional integration and embodiment, hence the quantum recoding system. It's a real exploration into the universal memory field, which is basically a living library. And when we start clearing in the Akashic record, the shifts are instant, because the intention of the work that we do, particularly in this body of work, every Akashic teacher and Akashic practitioner heals and teaches differently, but the work that we are doing is very much rooted in core trauma issues, what we've experienced in other lifetimes, what we've experienced in childhood. And then when we clear and heal at the root, that then progressively shifts all of the symptoms that are created as a result of the root of the issue, whether it's from another lifetime or whether it is from our childhood wounding. So it really is a beautiful body of work. So, sorry, my thing is jumping forward. Just bear with me a minute to move this out of the way. I'm trying to move my Zoom screen and it's not letting me do it. Okay, sorry guys, just bear with me. Okay. What's going on here? Hang on, let me just stop the share and reboot it again. Sorry, it's just got stuck. Okay. All right, that's it. There we go. So if you're watching on a phone, you might not be able to see the presentation very well. But if you're watching on a computer, hopefully it's okay. But I'm literally going to stick to the information on the presentation, hence why I've created the presentation, so that I tend to go off on tangents about this work is so expansive and vast. But I will send this PDF presentation out with the recording as well, so that you've basically got, so you don't necessarily need to make notes unless there's anything specific comes to your mind, because as I'm guiding you through this process, you might receive downloads, you might get insights, you might receive some inspiration. So of course, feel free to make notes, but you will have this blueprint of the session that we're talking today as a PDF guide, so you can refer back to it later. And it's only like 20 slides, so it's not a big, but it's fast. There's a lot of information. I've tried to pack as much as I can into it. So I know most of you are healers. So the term, the Akashic record, literally is, it means ether and or sky, space, astral light, which is referring to the fundamental cosmic substance of creation. So it's done it again. It's not so let me just put it down there out of the way. And then I can. That's better. Okay. Yeah, they keep changing the Zoom, updating it, and it's a pain in the butt sometimes. So the word Akash comes from Hindu Sanskrit, but it is basically a theosophy dating back to 360 BC with the work of Plato. So some of you might be aware of Plato, basically the Greek philosopher, and he started channeling and diving into the space, the ether. It wasn't necessarily known as the Akashic record at that time, but he started exploring and receiving downloads of information that were coming through holographic templates, and holographic field information. And he dived into all of the history of Atlantis and Lemuria, and dating back to that time. And this was 360 BC when he started getting into all of this. And so some of you might have heard of Edgar Cayce and Rudolf Steiner. So Edgar Cayce started working with the Akashic record in the 1800s. He was an advocate of the work of Plato. Rudolf Steiner is supposedly said to be the one that brought the Akashic body, the field of the Akashic record information, into the Western society, or he made it more popular. It's not popular, it's not mainstream yet. I would love it to go more mainstream and be more well known, like Reiki. Because more people need, as I believe, more people need to work at this level, because it really is, going really deep on a multidimensional scale. It's not just healing trauma on a physical level, it's healing trauma on a multidimensional level. But anyway, they were advocates of Plato and what he did. And there have been quite a lot of studies and scientific studies around the Akashic record as well, mainly like ancient Eastern science, but there are some teachings around, some scientific teachings around the Akashic record in modern science now that we're seeing. But yeah, you can find the information about the Akashic Chronicles from Plato and his work in Timaeus and Critias. He's a Greek, as I said. But basically my point in sharing this is just to show you that it's not just spiritual woo-woo, new age spiritual woo-woo. It has been around for centuries already. So to access the Akashic record, yeah, holding on to just need to close. Okay. All right, I will start sharing again. Okay. I mean, this is the thing when we're live, right? We can never plan for these things. All right. So yeah. So basically, accessing the Akashic record is expansive. It's limitless. It is a form of deep psychic intuitive, an intuitive reading that anybody can do as long as they're in that right aligned frequency to tap into the Akashic record, because it's kind of fifth dimensional a fifth dimensional level, we need to be vibrating in that fifth dimensional frequency. Yeah, thanks everyone for your messages. I appreciate. And it is basically a non-locality consciousness. It is a holographic universe, and everything is intrinsically linked. So I believe the Akashic record is, I'll go into the layers of the multidimensional body shortly, but the Akashic record for me is basically that it's the soul energy is kind of fourth, fifth, sixth dimensional. And then we've got the oversoul, which is seventh, eighth, ninth dimensional. And of course, our incarnate body, which is first, second, and third dimensional. So the Akashic record is like the bridge between the incarnate body and the oversoul body. So the higher layers of our light body. So the work that we do in this program is literally, we're literally healing right up to oversoul level. It's also, the oversoul level is also the location of our monad, which is basically our creator intelligence. And I'm not going to get into that because there's too much information. But just wanted to show you this little bit of information about Irvin Laszlo. Was one of the most recent studies of the Akashic record. He basically links the Akashic record to vacuum physics and quantum field theory. So he's gone really deep into the scientific aspect of it, which is why I wanted to share this, to show people that it is rooted in contemporary science or modern science. And he basically has wrote a couple of books that you might want to explore. One is The Science and the Akashic Field, an integral theory of everything, which was written in 2004. And then his latest books here, which were basically the Akashic Experience and the Immutable Laws of the Akashic Field. I've just ordered this one. But most information that I have gained about the Akashic record is just from going into the Akashic record myself and receiving downloads of information. But I just wanted to share the theory of this because it's quite interesting. So what we're working with when we start working with the higher layers of the body, specifically when we get into working at soul level, we are tapping into the 0 point field, and we are reading information rather than energy. And of course, we're working beyond the limitations of the 3D body, which of course, the ego starts getting involved. Even 3D, 4D level, we can experience distortions when we're reading energy and we're reading information. But when we start working fifth dimensionally, sixth dimensionally, we start to get into lighter plasma level and tapping more into 0 point field or the actual quantum vacuum. So what we're working with is, particularly when we're reading the Akashic record, we're looking at quantum entanglements, so things that we've experienced in other lifetimes, and entanglements that are still literally attached to our field through other souls, through experiences that we've had in other lifetimes with other souls, but also entanglements with experiences, places, timelines. So it's not just an entanglement with another person in another lifetime. It can also be an experience that can literally keep part of our energy coded into these old timelines through the trauma that we've experienced in other lifetimes. And I think most of us as healers, we've been healers in many lifetimes. This is not our first time around. Most of us have been healers over thousands of years, if not longer. And we've all experienced persecution as healers, especially, women that experienced, the witch trials in the 1500s, where we were burned at the stake for being, for having this intuitive intelligence, or doing our little magic rituals to heal people. Or even, of course, there are also black witches. We might have been black witches, we might have been sorcerers, we may have been harming people in other lifetimes, whatever it is. But ultimately, this is all trauma to the soul. Even if we've been persecutors in another lifetime, then this causes trauma to the soul. And so this is what we can be potentially healing in this lifetime. So we're healing all of our wrongdoings in other lifetimes, and of course all of the experiences that we've had have been victims of persecution and of course personal experiences we've had through genocides, natural disasters, wars, famines. There's so many. And then of course on top of all of that, what we've experienced in other lifetimes, we're dealing with what we've inherited on a generational level through our bloodlines, all of the persecutions and the genocides and the wars, of course, that we have inherited these trauma imprints from our parents, our caregivers, our grandparents, etc. So I'll come to questions. If you've got any questions, please feel free to write them, but I'm going to come on to questions at the end because I want to pack as much information into this as possible. So if I do see people writing things, but I will come back because otherwise I lose my flow of direction if I start reading everybody's messages. So I will come to them at the end. So continue to write if you need to. Obviously, as I mentioned already, the Akashic record is it is a holographic universe, every part containing the whole, and information that is encoded at every scale. So we've got our personal record, we've got the planetary record, we've got collective ancestral record, we've got a record of our cultures, of societies. There's multiple aspects and different records that we can tap into. And as I said, ultimately, we're working on the quantum information theory that obviously, because we're reading information and not energy, then we are shifting the memory, because obviously the information it's memory that's been imprinted into our soul memory system, and also on a multidimensional level into the soul memory system, and on a 3D level into our cellular blueprint, our DNA, be it through DNA recording everything, or be it genetically imprinted through what we've inherited from our bloodlines. And as I've written here, in 2024, I know you might not be able to see me highlighting this, but this is the most recent papers from 2024 that I could find, exploring the Akashic field and basically proposing that it's a bridge between esoteric traditions and modern science and all of the consciousness studies that we've done. So it is a metaphysical philosophy encompassing abstract concepts of being, knowing, substance, cause, identity, time, and space. So it really is, like I said, it's not new age woo-woo, as I occasionally get from time to time, people commenting under my posts that's, oh, new age woo-woo. And it really isn't. And I just smile when I see this. But ultimately, the difference between reading the record versus energy reading, so that means, like, as a Reiki healer, I know some of you will be Reiki healers, that we can pick up emotional energy in our clients when we're doing hands-on healing, or whether we're doing remote healing, and also spirit mediumship readings. As I've said, that we're reading information, not energy, whereas the other readings that tend to be reading emotional energy, which is often symptomatic and not root-based. And so as a Reiki healer myself, I was really tapping into past life information when I was doing work with, but this is when I started working with the Akashic record. And back in 2013, when I first started, I didn't really integrate the Akashic record body. It was a little bit before my time. I wasn't quite ready. It took me 2 years after the training to, like, literally on a physical level to embody it. But suddenly my work as a Reiki healer just started changing, and I started receiving a lot of messages and also seeing glimpses of, I was having visions of when I was working on somebody, of other lifetimes or childhood. And then I was able to feed this information back. And then people started saying to me, like, what you're doing, like my regular clients were, what you're doing, this is not Reiki, like, this is really powerful, whatever it is that you're doing. And so I asked my higher self, what am I doing? Because I felt it as well. I felt this is really powerful. And then I just started seeing Akashic record everywhere. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm finally integrating the work. And then I did another Akashic training because I wanted to go a little bit deeper with it. So we can be, my point, we can unknowingly be tapping into the field, the Akashic field, not really be aware of it. So if you're receiving past life information from your clients, if you're starting to see past lives or receiving messages about past lives, the likelihood is you're actually tapping into the Akashic record. Otherwise, you're literally just reading emotional energy, like, the energy of your client, and able to, tell them what emotion that you're feeling, what area it's blocked in the body, whether it's chakra or body part. We're all good at doing this because this is what Reiki is. But my point is, as I said, we're working with the information, so we're going into the root. And spiritual readings, so tarot readings and mediumship readings, which I've had multiple myself, these readings are focused on the trajectory based on current energy and potential probabilities based on these current energies, which is why sometimes when a medium or a tarot is giving us information about the future, that future it's not accurate, or it doesn't come into fruition, because the trajectory of that potential probability can change by the choices that we make. And ultimately, a choice creates a cause and effect. Basically, choices create karma. And these can be positive choices, which basically create higher or greater probability fields. And then, of course, negative choices, which do the opposite. They keep us stuck in low vibratory energies and, of course, attracting more of the same. But when we're making positive choices that are congruent to who we are at soul level, or these choices are in alignment with our path and purpose, then that creates more of the same. So like I said, we can change the trajectory. So I just think it's really important to be aware of this. And this is the beauty of doing this work, because when we start working with the Akashic record, what we're bringing into people's awareness is often the unconscious, whether that's childhood trauma or a childhood experience that created a root block that's ultimately playing out in their life right now. So, whether that's a fear, whether it's a belief, whether it's a low, whether it's just low energy, whether it's just keeping people stuck in negative loops. We can access the root of that, and that in itself begins to facilitate the process of healing without actually doing any healing. So we're literally bringing the unconscious into their awakened consciousness, so they have an understanding of it, so they can acknowledge it. And when we can acknowledge, as individuals, we can acknowledge something that we perhaps were not aware of in the past. We acknowledge that, then we can process it. And when we process it, it literally begins a progressive healing on so many levels, and it starts to clear all of the symptoms. So what we're doing in the Akashic record is going into the root of the issue to do exactly that, to literally begin the process of natural organic healing without even doing any clearing or any energetic reconfigurations. So I hope that makes sense. It is a really powerful work. And this is why my life changed, as a healer. When I was a Reiki healer, I was stuck charging 30, 40 pounds per session, having to do 5 sessions a day to make my money, stuck in poverty cycles, visibility fears, scared to put myself out there because there's so many Reiki healers. And I'm like, who am I against all these other more experienced healers? So just all of the self-doubt and the negative self-talk, the low self-worth, the low self-esteem, all of these things, and all rooted in our pains and traumas, and whether it's being bullied at school or being told that we're not good enough or whatever it is. And this is all things that play out in our current life. And of course, as healers, all of this is mirrored back to us through the healing work that we're doing with our clients. Of course, it's literally a contract that we have with our clients, even though we might not be aware of it. So it's literally showing us all of these things. But the other beauty of the Akashic record is healing all of this in my own record is what changed my life and I was able to put all my prices up, create this amazing program, teach it online, travel the world from my laptop, mostly without any issues, but occasionally we have some crazy storms that cause issues with the internet. But other than that, it's generally everything's beautiful and smooth, and I love it. And I'm blessed that I can travel to all these beautiful destinations that when I was 25, having this dream of living in tropical climates. And I never thought that I would be doing this until, 10 years ago when I left Europe and came out. So 2015 when I first came out to Asia, and I've been here ever since, and it's amazing. But the other beautiful thing, so yeah, if that resonates with anybody, drop me a thumbs up or a love or something in the chat if any of you have experienced the same with your work. But also working with the Akashic record, we're also reading the blueprint, which is the memory intelligence of our own personal and unique encryption. So basically, our blueprint, our soul blueprint, or our energetic blueprint is morphogenetic. It is ever unfolding, evolving, and reorganizing itself. So when we clear and reprogram from within the Akashic record, we're clearing these memory imprints that are creating the multitude of mental and emotional symptoms, and that are literally keeping us locked in these lower reality fields and keeping us stuck in fears and blocking our quantum potential, right? We're literally blocking our own potential with all of this. But when we start clearing in the Akashic record, we're creating space to recreate and actualize new opportunities. So when we're reading the Akashic record, we can also tap into our eternal record, which holds the energetic encryption of our spiritual archetypes or our starseed archetypes. So we can literally tap into the galactic aspect of our energy. So we can understand like the origin of our soul group, like, which star system, or we can tap into all that field as well, which is really beautiful to be able to gift that to not only ourselves, but also, tapping into our energetic qualities, the truth of who we are at soul level, the truth of who we are buried underneath all of the karmas and the traumas. So when we start clearing at this level and we start tapping into that energy, and people are focusing on who they are at soul level beyond the traumas, then this is also starts to create a progressive shift in energy. So this is basically what I'm sharing, an overview of this program and how it can elevate you, how it can elevate your work, how it can elevate your clients. If you choose to integrate the Akashic record into your work, it really is a beautiful body of work. So let me just have a look at some messages. I've had a few. Incredible, lovely, thank you. Okay, yes, freezing. Wow, what a metaphor. Oops. What a metaphor for looking at what we need to reflect. Yeah, exactly. It really is. I was told I had a persecution wound. Which wound? Yeah, persecution wound, which has to relate to which wound? Absolutely. Yeah, I think we've all had, as I said, as healers, for sure, we have had lifetimes where we've been literally executed or tortured or imprisoned or enslaved for being witches, or we have been persecutors of, we've literally been, the executors or torturers of. I believe that we experience all polarities in all our multiple lifetimes, that we're victims and we're also persecutors. And I think if this is really partly why we chose this experience, right? We chose to live in this polarity universe exactly for that reason. We're here in this polarity to experience all of it, because it's all evolution of the soul, right? And we need to experience all of it. So I know that's hard for some that have experienced deep trauma, especially those who have been abused and experienced satanic ritual abuse, for example, whether it's in other lifetimes or in their childhood. It's really hard to really understand how, not necessarily that we have chosen it, but it's all part of our experience. And I know myself, I experienced sexual violations when I was at school. Had I not experienced all of the traumas I had, I wouldn't be here now. And I'm sure that it's the same for you guys. We would not be here as healers had we not gone through our own traumas. So the Akashic record also has its roots in shamanism. The shamans are really, a lot of it, even though they may not necessarily call it the Akashic record, but they're very, very familiar with this energetic database. And the theosophists refer to it as the living library or an etheric highway. And it is basically encoded consciousness, or it's just the memory imprints of every thought, word, action, feeling, experience that has been imprinted into the multiple layers of our consciousness. So we have our physical body, which is dimensions 1, 2, and 3, which is working on organic and inorganic matter. So every physical cell in our body holds its own consciousness, its own intelligence, its own mental and emotional recording process. So basically our whole biology is an archive. It's an archive of lived experience, and we are recorders, we're receivers, and we're transmitters. So we're constantly receiving information and we're constantly transmitting information. And we can be radiating both positive and negative intelligence into our field, which ultimately is what shapes our reality. Then we've got our soul memory system, which is dimensions 4, 5, 6. So here, like the physical body, we're talking about the incarnate level, which is dimensions 1, 2, and 3, which corresponds with chakras 1, 2, 3, and DNA strands 1, 2, 3. So I work with a 12-strand DNA template, not this 2-strand nonsense that science tells us that we've only got 2 strands and the rest is junk DNA. No, we've got a 12-strand DNA template, some of us even higher strands of DNA, but generally the majority of our human blueprint is 12-strand DNA. So each dimension represents a chakra, and each chakra, and also a DNA strand. So the soul memory system is dimensions 4, 5, 6. So the astral body, the mental body, or the higher mental body, and the kind of angelic. So this is basically works on astral mind, archetypal mind, and kind of angelic celestial mind. But this is dimensions 4, 5, 6, chakras 4, 5, 6, DNA strands 4, 5, 6. And this is the soul memory system holds the sum of all our experiences across other lifetimes. And it is akin to holographic artifacts and scriptures of encoded consciousness. There is held in the frequency planes of our 5th dimensional intersection, which is basically the higher mental body plane, which is the archetypal mind. We've got the lower mind, 3D lower mind, and then we've got the higher mind, 5th dimensional level. But ultimately, all layers of our body is a level of a mind, as I see it. And then we've got the light body. So the soul, when we're getting into D4, D5, D6, and chakras 4, 5, 6, DNA strands 4, 5, 6, we're already working with the light body. So this is like the lower layer of the light body. And then we get into the higher levels of the light body from dimensions 4 up to dimensions 12. I work with a 15-dimensional chakra, 15-dimensional system of healing, but I'm going to stick to the 12 dimensions at the minute, because the 3 dimensions outside of the dimensional reality field are basically the primal light and the sound fields. But I go into all this in the Akashic training, but I'm just trying to keep it as brief as I can while giving you as much as I can. And so, but these levels, when we're getting into the soul area, so the D4, 5, 6, and then of course the higher levels, we're working with like different layers of matter and plasma, which is basically just light. But ultimately our electromagnetic field, which is basically what the light body is, there's 3 primary currents, the male current, the female current, and of course the 0 point current, the neutral current, or the androgynous, non-genderized current. So they're not just 2 currents that run through the body, there are actually 3. And the 3rd current is basically the medium that basically integrates what they call the 0 point. But this is made up of scalar wave patterns and Merkabahs, geometrical waves, and every intention that we have, every experience that we have, every thought, every feeling, every word that we speak creates an alteration, an interference pattern, and an imprint within this field. So this is the saying, be careful what you speak, be careful how you speak to yourself, be careful how what you're projecting into the field, because it's literally creating an imprint in your own field. And of course, our light body can be nourished and activated with positive experiences and, positive self-communication, or it can be fragmented and distorted through negative experiences and traumas, etc. And also, of course, how we communicate with ourselves. So this is basically this level is the soul body, and this is basically the oversoul. And then we get into dimensions 10, 11, and 12, which we're getting into the avatar body. So I'll just show you this. I know that you probably can't see this diagram, but I'll blow it up in a second. So this is basically what I've just talked about there. This is like a kind of linear diagram of our light body, but of course, as I said, just expressed in a chart such as this, so it can help to make a little bit more sense. And it is, as I said, it's just plasma and different higher levels of matter. So our light body, it's made up of dimensional frequency bands, and dimensions are standing scalar waves that flash on and off, which is basically frequency. And it consists of 5 harmonic universes or density levels. So each density level or harmonic universe contains a triadic layer of our light body that's made up of different frequencies and matter plasma. So I'm just giving you the super basics here, but this is something we go deeper into in the training. So just to blow this up so that you might be able to see it a little bit better. So we've got density 1. Okay, that's a little bit better. Again, I know it's not the best viewing on laptop, but hopefully you can see. So basically, let's say all of these rings would basically be our electromagnetic field, that all the different layers of the aura, as some people refer to it. So all the layers from dimension 1 all the way up to dimension 12 here. And then you've got the outer rings, which are, like I said, they're non-dimensionalized. So this is the primal light and sound fields. So each of these from dimension 1 up to dimension 12, it's a different level of frequency. This is what a dimension is. And again, made up of different matter levels. So these little circles basically represent the triadic layer of each of these frequency bands. So harmonic universe 1 or density level 1, as you can see here, is basically our physical body, made up of dimensions 1, 2, 3. As I mentioned, chakras 1, 2, 3, DNA strands 1, 2, 3. So this is the physical body, our current, what we're experiencing in this meat body. And then we've got the density 2 or harmonic universe 2, which is basically the soul body. This is dimensions 4, 5, 6. So here we have harmonic universe 2, dimensions 4, 5, and 6. So we've got the astral field, the archetypal field, the celestial field. So these are the 3 triadic layers of the soul. And this is basically where the Akashic record is. So when we're working in the Akashic record, we're working with these 3 layers, and each of the layers has an intersection. So we're healing the trauma multidimensionally. And as I've said already, the Akashic record at this level is basically the bridge, because this next harmonic universe here is basically dimension 7, 8, 9, which is the oversoul matrix, or the oversoul level of consciousness. So the Akashic record and the soul is basically the medium, the bridge between the oversoul, higher matter, the higher plasmas, and the physical body. Does that make sense? And as I said, a dimension is a frequency band. It literally is just flashing on and off, standing scalar wave. It's literally just and this is basically, our morphogenetic field from dimensions 4 up to dimensions 15 is basically our morphogenetic field. Again, we go much deeper into this on the training, but I haven't got time now. And this is basically the 15-dimensional time matrix that I work with through Ashiana Dean. I don't know if any of you in the US might be familiar with her, but she was the body of work that I studied, over the last, I don't know how many years. She doesn't really go into, she's not working with the Akashic record, but she's going into all of the density levels and of our time matrix. And then we've got density 4, which is dimensions 10, 11, 12, which is the avatar body. So we start getting into the higher levels, and then density 5, the dimensions outside of the non-dimensional fields, which is, as I said, the basically primal light and sound, which we're starting to get into the rishi body or the spirit body. So this is dimensions 13, 14, 15. And we do have chakras 13, 14, and 15. So our morphogenetic chakras are basically chakras from chakra kind of 8, 9, up 8, from 8 to 15. These are like some people call them transpersonal chakras. Some people call them morphogenetic chakras. But what we're working with in Reiki is the embodied chakras, the chakras 1 to 7. But in this body of work, we're working through the whole of that system. So basically, we're working on the integration and embodiment of the soul and oversoul levels by healing trauma and fragmentation multidimensionally, beyond just 3 and 4D levels that most modalities are reaching, if that makes sense. So we all know that let me just reduce that down again. So we all know that our body is made up of light and ether, which is basically Akash. So it's literally water and electrical conductivity, which makes up our energy and our DNA. And this basically creates a unified holographic field or consciousness, which is multi-layered with many moving parts, each doing its own specific job. So that's why I wanted to show you that chart of that, in a kind of linear way, so that you could integrate it a little bit more. But each of these layers, each of these different triadic layers are all doing their own specific job, each receiving, decoding, assimilating, and emitting information within and around our environmental field, which is basic biophysics. So in short, the Akashic record is a holographic template that records and stores our past and present life experiences with its own energetic database and its own etheric memory system. So I'm basically working with the computer analogy. And I know some of you might have seen my Facebook post about this the other day, for those of you who follow me on Facebook. But it's, the computer analogy it's a really great analogy to explain. And this is the explanation I give to people who are not metaphysical, or they're not really tapped into like spirituality. So I give them the computer analogy because it's easy for them to assimilate. But the Akashic record operates in a similar way to the computer system. Basically, our Akashic record is our soul memory system, and it operates in a similar way to a computer, storing memory and downloads in the hard drive, which is the memory database. So just like a computer, this energetic template can experience environmental damage from internal and external malware. So viruses, hackers, spy bots, even, things that we do to it ourselves, damp, heat, anything that can either slow it down or corrupt its memory, and ultimately then corrupting its operating system, causing it to malfunction or completely shut down. So basically, it's trauma to our laptop. And some of you will have experienced trauma to your laptop multiple times, as I have. So it's basically the similar kind of basis. So just like the computer, our internal hologram needs a good scan, which is what we do with the Akashic reading, to identify the threats to our internal operating system, then followed by a clear out. So ultimately, it can function at its optimum capacity. So it also needs an antivirus protection, just like a computer, to keep it safe from corruption. So it's really important for all of us healers, and I know that most of you are aware of this, is that we are doing our daily diligence. We're doing our practices, and we're trying to keep our shield intact and doing our own clearings and doing our own healing, so that we can literally install our antivirus protection and prevent ourselves from being corrupted by entities jumping into our field, from some random passerby on the street that just like, oh, look, there's a hole in her shield, I'll just jump into it, I like her light, I want to loosh her light. But ultimately, also from our clients, the clearings that we're doing for clients and the entities that can jump into our fields from our clients. So yeah, we're basically like, an Akashic reader is kind of like a spiritual doctor. So you go to a doctor to scan your biological template when you don't feel well, to have blood tests and x-rays and MRI scans, whatever it is you need. And this is kind of like what we are doing with the Akashic reading, except of course we're going into people's hologram and reading information. And anybody can do this. You just need to be vibrating in that same frequency. So many healers want to join my training program, and they all message me, not all, but the ones who are doubtful, that, oh, I can't do this work, I've tried to tap into the Akashic record and I cannot. And I say to all of them, potentially it could be because your own fields are corrupted. There's fragmentation that you haven't healed, because there might be some past life disturbances. Your electromagnetic field might be running reversals, mutations. Your DNA might be corrupted, your memory system might be corrupted. And so there's potential dormant channels, or like I said, just some corruption that you can't tap in. Or it can be belief, I can't access the Akashic record. So whether you can or you can't, you're right? That's the belief. If you believe you can't, then you're right, you can't. If you believe you can, and then just persevere with it and keep practicing, you will break through that barrier, because our dormant channels are activated through conscious intent and through will, because we all have free will, and we are all creators and programmers. So we can absolutely do anything we want to. But ultimately, when we are out of whack, then of course we cannot. So on the training program, we go through all the energetic reconfigurations, so that, to switch back on dormant channels and clear all these distortions and implants and entities that you might be unaware of, hidden entities, hidden implants, all of it. So this is basically what an Akashic reading does. It scans your field, or it scans a client's field, and then we clear it across space-time, which is ultimately realigning the whole system, so the body can begin its own reparation once the electromagnetic frequencies have been restored. Because ultimately, when the electromagnetics are distorted, then the whole of our bodies, our nervous system is electrical, it's electromagnetic. So yeah, it's really very powerful. So I'll just make this a little bit smaller. So reprogramming the Akashic record, just kind of summarizing all of that. The Akashic healing that we're doing is operating beyond 3D, 4D planes. It is reaching the soul and oversoul levels, clearing the karmic distortions that we have, that's basically causing the disturbances in our blueprint, and then ultimately reintegrating all the fragmented aspects of our energy and our soul that have been fragmented as a result of the quantum entanglements that are keeping us stuck, keeping parts of our soul or parts of our energy trapped in other timelines. So when we start clearing and restoring at these levels, then we start progressively retrieving all of these lost aspects, and also aspects of our soul that have been stolen in the astral field, or through entity intrusions and things that we're maybe not even aware of. I'm not going to go into all of the astral entities and implants in this, because we just don't have time. But all of the entities and intrusions that we have also cause trauma, and ultimately an entity attachment, whether it's a negative spirit or whether it's an inner demon, whether it's an anger entity, a grief entity, a rage, frustration, whether it's from abandonment or rejection, or for whatever it is, ultimately this can fragment our energy, causing distortions. So it's, the work that we're doing is, as I said, it's holistic. Not holistic, holistic. So basically we're healing the 3D, 4D symptoms, because we're working at that 4th, 5th, 6th dimensional level. So it's healing up and healing down. So it's healing down to the 3D, 4D symptoms, the physical traumas, the emotional symptoms, obviously the soul, all the fragmented aspects and the karmic distortions, and then of course the oversoul level, which is through the morphogenetic blueprint. So healing the higher levels as well, because trauma doesn't just impact us on a 3D level. It literally filters up into our higher reality fields as well, our higher dimensional reality fields. And likewise, all of the past life experiences that are held in that 5th dimensional aspect is literally impacting us on a 3D level, as we already know. Does that make sense? Is this all resonating so far? Just drop me a little comment or a thumbs up or whatever makes so much sense. Incredible. Yeah, thank you. Good. I'm glad it's making sense too. And for sure, I'm not teaching any of you anything that you don't already know. This is already literally embedded into you. Sometimes we forget and we might just need it reawakening. So yeah, this is all our memory. That's already, as I said, it's already encoded into us, but we've just lost memory and we've been distorted, and yeah, we've had a lot of tamperance and interference from external sources. So yeah, fascinating. All good. I'm glad it's resonating with you. So basically, the multidimensional healing, again, just summarizing, is, you know, the advanced protocols that we're working through is to heal trauma, not just physically and psychologically or emotionally, which is what most are doing, but through the entire multidimensional body. So again, just a little kind of chart here. So the physical and the etheric body, the symptoms and the nervous system, the emotional charge, the mental body, and then the causal soul body going into past life karmic patterns, and then of course the oversoul monadic body. So it's literally healing at these levels. So we're kind of healing from top down and also from bottom up, which is what we do in trauma healing as well, but on a different scale. So healing at the oversoul level cascades transformation downwards through every layer, producing shifts that are structural, not superficial. So yeah, I just think that's a really important to understand, that we're really healing it, like I said, beyond superficial layers. All right. So I'll let that just land with you for a minute. So the heart of this system is basically the organic rewiring, which is basically quantum recoding. And it's, you know, this is what I love about the Akashic record. It's not a technique. It literally is a living process of organic rewiring. We are reprogramming our morphogenetic field. We are reprogramming all aspects. We're literally recreating. You know, we do not have to be a product of our past. Absolutely not. And we also do not have to be a product of our bloodlines. We can make conscious choices and clear, you know, just through making commands. And this is what we'll be doing at the end of this, when I'll guide you into a little journey, and we'll just do some like a clearing and see how that unfolds for you over the coming days and weeks. Because as I said, when we start making commands, we are creators and we're programmers. So when we're commanding, this is literally, it's being manifested into our hologram through multiple layers. So this is why I said it's not a technique, it's a living process. And reading the Akashic record is intense. Clearing in the Akashic record is intense. Some people feel it really, really powerfully. Some people feel it more subtly. It depends on what's going on, what your frequency is, because we're all, you know, vibrating at different levels of frequency at all times. We're fluctuating up and down between different frequency bands. So depending on what frequency you are in at the time determines how you integrate the healing. And for some people, it's really powerful and massive activations. And for other people, it's more subtle and they might not feel it instantly, but they feel it some days later when it starts integrating, and they're suddenly noticing that I'm not getting angry anymore. I'm not being triggered by this person anymore, or I'm not thinking dark thoughts anymore, or whatever it is. Or I'm not doubting myself. I'm trusting myself more, or I've started seeing, I'm having visions, or I'm having really vivid dreams, or everything's brighter, everything's louder, everything's clearer. So it's really powerful. And these are all like potential benefits of doing this work, you know, whether you choose to train in this or whether it's just something you want to integrate and experience for yourself. But ultimately, we're rewiring the brain and the nervous system, you know, restructuring this to create quantum coherence, and as I said, to restore fragmentation and trauma condition patterning. The quantum recoding aspect is basically we're working on recoding and reprogramming or reconfiguring the electromagnetic field, which ultimately is intrinsically connected to the 12-strand DNA template, because the DNA is basically electric. It's electrical and magnetic current. And so we're literally clearing distortions in the genetic blueprint, in our DNA, in our cellular memory. And ultimately, when we start clearing at that level and reconfiguring the electromagnetic field and the light body, which literally works on the whole, the chakras, the DNA, the aura, the meridians, all of these aspects of our light body, then we are unlocking our capabilities and our higher perceptual capacities. So when we start switching these higher strands of DNA on, then we literally start tapping into these higher perceptual realities. We literally start to connect to our higher stations of identity and awareness. And so we're connecting to, we start integrating our higher self. And one thing I've noticed in myself over the last years is, since I've really integrated this on a multidimensional scale, I don't need to sit in meditation and do healings as much, because it's fully integrated into my reality. And just being able to make that choice to go into my Akashic record or to go into somebody else's Akashic record, and it's literally just like turning a light switch on. So this is all possible, but at the moment, a lot of people have to sit in meditation to get into these higher states, or even, to do healings for people. So it's really powerful. And ultimately, as I said, when we're literally living and breathing this living light, then we're embodying it at a whole different level and living from the quantum potential and not living from the wounds. So as I just mentioned, I'm finding that I'm not having to do as much healing and meditation. I still do, but I don't need to do as much, because I just make commands to clear, and it clears. So again, I'm living my potential, and I'm not living from my wounds. And that doesn't mean to say that my wounds don't get triggered, but I just can approach it from a completely different scale. And so, yeah, that's why I love this work. It's just amazing. And the number of clients that come back to me after a reading and a clearing that say the same, I'm just looking at, everything's changed. I'm looking at everything and seeing everything differently, because it gives you an identity shift, because we're tapping into these higher stations of identity and awareness. So it is an identity shift. You're literally not operating from your lower identity anymore. You're operating from, and again, you'll be fluctuating, but you're operating from a different scale. So yeah, it's fascinating. Just a little bit about collective trauma, because as I mentioned right at the beginning, we're not just dealing with our own traumas, we're also dealing with the micro traumas, which is basically caused by systemic constructs, political, economic, social, cultural, racial, gender, persecutions that we've experienced, that we're still experiencing, wars, genocides, the fears that are constantly being propagated into the field via mainstream media, everything that we're experiencing. So there's all the micro traumas from the collective field, and as I said, what we've inherited through our bloodlines and what we're still experiencing through our living loved ones. But ultimately, all of this literally creates dysregulation. And this is what, nervous system dysregulation is basically trauma. Trauma's literally is an electrical conductivity that's stuck on charge. And that charge is what fragments the energy. It fragments the nervous system, because it needs the magnetic base to anchor the charge. But because the magnetic flow is disrupted or reversed through the fragmentation, and sometimes deliberate energetic reversals from targeted artificial radio wave technology, that most of us are aware of this, not just I'm not just talking about 5G, but I'm just talking about all of the radio wave technology, the CERN, the HARP, the chemicals that are being sprayed, the geoengineering, the sun radiation management, all of this stuff, Wi-Fi, our phones constantly, our phones are like, I think for a lot of us, especially for me working online, that's the downside of working online, is my phone's constantly in my hand and I have to really disconnect from it. But all of this literally disrupts our field, and it literally can fragment our energy. And as I said, it creates energetic reversals that can damage our light body, which is, as I've said, why we need to heal trauma multidimensionally, because we're not, it's not just physical, it's literally multidimensional. And this program is absolutely all about liberation from the control matrix, from the false karma wheel that has kept humanity trapped in reincarnation cycles for millennia, largely through inverted teachings, through religion and other artificial constructs. Again, I'm not going to go too much into it because we don't have time, but I know that most of you will be aware of this, and we do go deeper into all of this in the training, that we're literally looking for religious implants, entity attachments, egregors, octopus entities from being part of false spiritual groups, religious groups, being indoctrinated into all of these groups by our unaware parents and caregivers who have literally contracted into distorted teachings, false histories, false memory, and all of this other stuff. And this is literally what we're clearing. We're constantly clearing all of this at all times. But when we become aware of it, we just stop consenting. We literally just do not engage anymore. So we get to a point where we can literally just shut off and detach from it. But ultimately, we inherit karmic debt from our bloodlines. And, this is a lot of it is what is keeping society stuck in these victim savior and victim victimizer programs, obviously disempowerment programs. This is all part of the control matrix. This is what it's designed to do, to keep us all subjugated and oppressed. So when we can start clearing all of this, people just start waking up on completely different levels. And of course, as I've said here, it is up to us as earth keepers, light workers, spiritual warriors, truth seekers, to literally re-anchor and balance this natural order through doing our own work. And of course, helping other people to see what we can see. It's all divine intelligence. And this is why we're all here, right? Connecting, collaborating. So, how's that all landing with you? Just to have a little breather. Everybody resonating? Anybody got any questions? Feel free to type them into the chat. Yeah, fascinating. All good. So lovely. Oh, thank you. Alrighty. So accessing the Akashic record. So as I mentioned already, another message just came through. Thank you for your efforts. Definitely resonates. Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for your appreciation. I appreciate your appreciation. I love this work. I could sit here for hours teaching it. I just find it fascinating. So it's literally taken me 2 weeks to just even think, like, where do I want to start? Because there's just so much that I could talk about, and it's like where to start. So hence why I've created this presentation, so I keep myself on track. Otherwise, I just go off on all these tangents and people are like, what's she talking about now? Nothing to do with the Akashic record, but it is. It's all relative. Anyway, so accessing the Akashic record, as I said, anybody can access this. Some of you might already be working. Let me know in the chat if you're already working with the Akashic record, or if you've had experience with the Akashic record, if you've had a reading, if you've had a healing, or as I said, whether you're already an Akashic reader. I know that many of my students are jumping into this. They've all signed up to do this, as well as a little refresher. Some of them that did the training with me a few years ago. It's, we never stop learning. We never stop evolving, right? But we can all tap into this field. We just need to be vibrating at that like frequency, at the fifth dimensional aspect. And anybody can do that as well. We just need to do a little bit of diligence to do that, which I'll go through shortly. So the mental body plane, the Akashic field, as I mentioned, is the fifth dimensional mental body plane, which is the archetypal mind. And it is ultimately our subconscious or superconsciousness. So theoretically, the Akashic record is on a 3D level, physical level, it's our subconscious. And of course, on a soul level, it's the soul memory system. So the mental plane is the location of the sub or superconsciousness, which is a cosmic database that records and holds the memory intelligence of all of our experiences. And we access this state in a theta brainwave state. So the only thing stopping people, as I've mentioned already, the only thing stopping people is dormant channels, having aspects of their templates distorted, shut down, fragmented. And a lot of healers still have, I only work with healers, all my clients are healers. And I've never had one healer client come to me over the last 10 years without fragmentation, whether it's soul fragmentation from other lifetimes or childhood or energetic fragmentation that they could have picked up from clients, from not doing their own work, from having like a weak field, from having distortions in their field. Not one healer has ever come to me without energetic fragmentation. And it's, like I said, it's a constant because we're up against all of the environmental issues as well as what we're picking up from our clients, which is why it's really important, and particularly past life fragmentation. So we're switching back on all of these dormant aspects. And as I said, you can do that through conscious intention, just by sitting in meditation, tuning in and having the intention to activate your higher channels. And it will start, I don't know if any of you work with your higher self at the moment, whether you're doing that already, whether you're working with your inner soul guides, that means the higher aspects of yourself. I know many people are connecting to spirit and angels, but you don't need external forces. Everything's already in you. You are an angel, you are a spirit, you are a soul guide. I communicate with my inner soul guides, my higher self, and I always ask my inner team, my inner higher team, to help me to activate XYZ, whatever it is that I want to work on. I'm communicating with them at all times. So we can do that with conscious intention. And of course, they step in and help us. They just need to be asked. They need to, we need to like communicate with them. And even the higher self channels can be dormant because we're not communicating with higher self. We're not communicating internally. We're not going into ascension. Most are focused on ascension and communicating to external sources. But when you start communicating with external sources, if you are already fragmented, you're leaving yourself open to potentially inviting false light and imposter spirits into your field. So be really aware and really discerning on this, because this is something I go into, all the false light stuff, we go into this in the training, and I'm teaching all my healers not to work with spirit. You're working with your higher self, and you're working with the client's higher self and the client's soul guides. So everything's internal. There's no interference from external sources, no possibility of corruption from false light, from entities, from astral beings, from everything. We're literally just bypassing all of that. So the theta brainwave is basically the bridge to our subconscious, and this is the realm at which the potential for soul remembering and healing takes place. I know that most of you may be familiar with theta, and it's where we bypass the conscious mind, which is basically our the beta brainwave state, to access and uncover unconscious memory from other lifetimes or held in our subconscious, again, childhood wounds. So basically, when we're tapping into theta, we're bypassing the lower mind. We're bypassing the lower mind interferences, the ego manipulations, the judgments, the opinions, the conscious biases. So we're literally tapping into a whole new field. So these are the levels of the brainwave states, the beta conscious state, which we're all in now, working, listening to this, doing tasks. The gamma state is the internalized consciousness state, which is, we can go into the gamma state when we're doing kind of active meditations. And I mean, by that, I mean like conscious focusing, which is, I believe that we can get into that state when we're focusing on going into the Akashic record as well. The alpha state is the relaxed brainwave state when we're reading, listening to music, sometimes even driving. We're on autopilot, cooking, everything's automatic. We're not really paying attention because we're just doing things automatically. And then the theta brainwave, which is a passive yet awakened state where we lucid dream. This is the dream state. So we don't dream when we're in our unconscious delta brainwave state. At that point, we're literally in our deepest sleep, and we don't dream here. This is when the soul kind of leaves the physical body and goes to replenish itself in the upper astral planes. So when we're entering the theta brainwave, we're entering into the realm of the astral. And as I said, giving our soul a chance to replenish itself, our energy to replenish itself as well. So that is basically all we need to do to access the Akashic record. And of course, conscious intention. So reading the Akashic record for anybody, obviously not for yourself because it's your record, but we need permission. You cannot go into anybody's Akashic record without their permission. So it's really important. Just like doing healing, we need permission. And if we can't access permission on a physical level, because an individual may be a departed loved one, for example, or it may be someone, maybe a child, or it may be somebody who wants you to access somebody else's records, then we can ask the higher self. But again, it's really important that you're not manipulating that with your own answers. You're letting your own conscious biases get in the way. You literally have to, it's really important that you bring yourself into that alpha brainwave state. And we just do this by doing a few minutes of breath work. It's super, super easy. Obviously, shamans, they get into this state by drumming or using the rattle. Most of us we can just access this state with going into breathing. And again, this is what we're going to be doing shortly. Does that make sense? So we'll just check a few messages just to have a breather and let you. I've had healing where the healer accessed my records. So far, so good, loud and clear. Good. Lots of resonance. I'd like that light switch. Yeah, feeling the potential. Very empowering. Yeah, it really is. It's fascinating. 100% resonates with me. Good. Thank you, everyone. You are the one gathering this information. Yes. I've been working. I've had a healing when I've been working in the Akashic record for a month, also been having my reading. I don't know why I can't go on there with it. Having and working on my own. Okay, mostly higher self and angels, haunted protectors. Yeah. Yeah, start working. Instead of calling in angels and spirits, start tuning in to your higher self, because that is going to take you on a whole new level. And this is, like I said, what changed for me on a massive scale when I started working with my internal higher stations. This is what switched everything back on for me, working with my internal, because ultimately when we're calling in external influences, we're giving our power away to them. And we don't need to give our power away because it's been taken from us enough. So we need to reclaim that power and trust your inner creator, your inner intelligence, your inner wisdom, your own inner guidance. And so you can ask, your higher self is basically your higher spirit team. So that's it. That's all you need. You don't need angels. And yeah, sure, you can communicate with them when you want healing and you can call them in as well. But make sure, another thing as well, when you're calling in and when you're invoking external beings, I really recommend that you start asking to invoke benevolent, organic, living light, angels, spirits, or whatever, and start putting those 4 words on the very beginning of so like, right before you start calling in Archangel Michael, or calling in the true organic living light consciousness of Archangel Michael to assist me with this XYZ, whatever it is. That way, because all consciousness can be distorted, an archangel is just a consciousness. And within that consciousness, there's positive and negative, there's polarity. So part of the consciousness can have fallen, can be corrupted, part of the consciousness can be benevolent. That doesn't mean to say that it's malevolent, but it's corrupted, it's distorted. And we don't know what is behind that distortion. Spirit guides can be distorted. Again, this is something we talk about in the training. Spirit guides can be negative and distorted. Not that they've chosen to be, but they can be corrupted themselves because they're also on their own kind of journey and still learning and evolving and growing. So make sure you start calling in organic living light or eternal living light, because that then bypasses all of the imposter stuff. So you'll start to see, you'll start to see a shift, and I'd love to hear from you all later. on Facebook or email in a week or so, for example, when you start messaging me and saying, yeah, it's definitely shifting something, just doing that. So even if you don't take anything from this session, just take that with you. It's really powerful. And as I said, when we're calling in guides, we're contracting potentially with imposters, and we're not knowing that we're in, because these imposters masquerade as light beings, and they're very clever. They use very clever astral bliss technology, and that technology is designed to make us feel good. So we surrender to it, and then we start using it, and then we're bringing that in when we're healing our clients, ultimately transferring that energy onto our unsuspecting clients as well. So it's really important that we start understanding this on a deeper scale, that we can be, because these imposters, these negative spirits, these lower astrals, they love healers. We are like caviar for them. So yeah, be aware. All right. Intention is key. So as with everything, right aligned intention absolutely matters when working with the record. I always recommend when you go into your record, you have a clear question or something really specific that you want to ask, so that you receive accuracy in the guidance from within your record. It's really important. And it's the same with our clients. So when we set in an intentional precedent for the readings, the information we receive will be clear and for the greatest good and the highest outcome. Because ultimately, this is what's mirrored back to us, is our intention. So if you go in there with an intention to clear a specific pattern, whether it's an ancestral pattern, whether it's a childhood pattern, then and again, this is what we're going to do at the end of the session, that is what will be mirrored back to you. So what you'll receive is the information and all of the symptoms that you need to clear that are perpetuating that particular pattern or trauma or what fear or whatever it is. So when we go into the Akashic record, if we're not necessarily clear with our intentions or our questions, we can receive confusing information. Not always, but things can get distorted, and we can create more problems for ourselves or our clients. And of course, our clients are already quite fragile. So this is why in our program, we work with a structured, in-depth protocol that's super precision questioning. And what I have found through my own experiences working with this protocol for myself, and obviously then as I've started teaching this work and sharing it with clients, it's literally helping to unlock the highest truth and really facilitating much deeper, more sustainable healings for ourselves and our clients, as I've experienced personally. As I said, I literally shifted from one day to the next. My fear about showing up online, speaking online, used to terrify me. I would be shaking in my boots every time, when I had to do any kind of session or anything. And so I was hiding behind doing one-to-one online trainings because I was scared to teach a group. So that might resonate with some of you. And I literally cleared that from one day to the next. Didn't stop me from getting nervous, but I overcame all of that. And sometimes I might still feel, that occasionally I might, if I'm teaching something new, for example, like this, I haven't taught this free training before. This literally is embedded into my soul, I could literally talk about this in my sleep, but I haven't taught this as a presentation like this before. So I was a little bit nervous, but I know that once I start, it's just going to flow, because obviously the mind gets in the way, our thoughts get in the way. But what if this, and what if this, and what if people don't like it? And I'm like, well, if people don't like it, it's tough, it's free, it doesn't matter. And I just overcome it that way. But even if it's not free, it's like they will like it, because this information, it's literally part of them. So it's just going to awaken things in them as well. And as I said, the minute I start talking about it, then I just get on this roll and it just flows. But ultimately, it's just important to be really clear when you're going in and asking questions where, especially, you can ask questions where you receive a yes or no, or you can just ask, like I do to my higher self a lot, show me what this is all about. And I was doing this all the way through COVID. Show me what this vaccination is all about. Show me what this pandemic's all about. Show me what this is. Show me this. Show me this. Show me this. And I was being told all sorts of things and then I started seeing it all, people sharing similar things. I'm like, wow, okay, I was being told all this by going into the collective Akashic record, the planetary Akashic record. I've gone into like Atlantis and Lemuria myself. I've been taken on all these amazing journeys through going into the planetary Akashic record, and it's beautiful work. All right, so let's have a little journey. So I'm just going to brief you. I'm just going to take you on a little journey. So I've wrote the steps in here so that you can see them and use it again. So we're going to go into your Akashic record. We're just going to ask some things, whatever it is, like maybe that there's some blocks that you might be aware of. Maybe there is some things that you want to manifest that you haven't been able to manifest right now. Ultimately, there's nothing that you can't do when you're in your own record. This is your record. It's part of your blueprint. So you're communicating with your higher intelligence. So I'm going to invite you to communicate with your higher intelligence, to not call in external beings and not distort any truth by calling in external beings. Just communicate with your higher creator intelligence, this part of you that's oversoul monad level, and we'll be requesting and then making commands for clearing and requesting information for guidance to see what comes through. And this is basically what you can work in. You can work at this level with your clients as well. That once you start getting a feel for the Akashic record, then, if you feel comfortable to explore, which is what I was doing. I mean, I did a training first, so I kind of had a basic structure, but that's kind of what I'm giving you now. So if you want to explore and just intentionally that you're connecting to the Akashic record, and you'll just start to see that a shift and a difference in energy as to just putting your hands on somebody and asking, like, spirit to show you, for example. So as I said, it's completely different, but there's no limits to what you can do when you're in this frequency. Because, as I said, we are all universal co-creators, we're manifestors, we're programmers, and we can absolutely manifest what we desire. The only thing that's stopping us is just our frequency, our distortions, the illusions, and the false truths that we can tell ourselves based on our wounds and our past. And ultimately, it's equally important to make sure when you open or when you access your own Akashic record, you don't need to open your Akashic record because it's already part of you. But when you access your own record, it's really important that you make sure that you close that down. And also when you're working for a client, with a client, you will be opening their record, accessing. And again, importantly, close it down because you don't want to leave your clients or yourselves with your record open for anything to jump into your field. And you can just make a simple mantra like, I now close my Akashic record and return to my physical reality, so that you're literally affirming your energetic location in your physical body. But the more you practice, the more expansive you will get. So as I take you through this journey, and it's a super simple journey, but some of you might have some really profound insights. Some of you might have done the Akashic clearing that we did for self-doubt a couple of weeks ago that I sent out in an email when I was going to do the last training. If you haven't, it's also on YouTube. So you can also find that on YouTube. Again, it's just Akashic clearing for clearing self-doubt, or Akashic healing for clearing self-doubt. So if you didn't do that already, and many people had like it was a really simple process, but people had some really profound insights and some intense clearings. So it's really powerful. So the more you practice, the more insight and the deeper you will integrate this work. And yeah, final note, again, do not go into people's Akashic record without their permission. Misusing the Akashic record to interfere with others or manipulate energies for personal gain, you will likely be met with blocks. You are breaching spiritual law, and you might have your gifts or powers revoked. So this is a common thing that the kind of benevolent sources, the guardians, our higher dimensional benevolent guardians can potentially step in. The overseers of the laws, of the spiritual laws or laws of the universe can step in and revoke your gifts if you're misusing it. I find that this is not necessarily the case. What I find mostly is people step out of integrity, they step out of spiritual integrity. and they end up fragmenting and distorting their own fields. So they literally switch their own powers off through compromising their integrity, if that makes sense. And then we've got Akashic record decrees. So we work with commands. So obviously declarations, commands, decrees, whatever you want to call them. We're working with, when we're commanding, we're utilizing the linguistic template recoding, which is what we work with in the Akashic training, which reprograms our subconscious and our neural pathways to recreate our reality. As I've said, we're all programmers and creators. So whatever we speak is literally what we're creating at any time. We're creating, and at any one time, we're literally creating. Sitting here now, we're creating. I'm creating, you're creating, we're co-creating. So my point being that anything that we speak, as I've said at the very beginning, being careful what you wish for, being careful what you speak, because we can manifest, and we can manifest really, really fast. But we're going to be clearing from within theta brainwave state, because instantaneous shifts can happen. So be curious and explorative. If you haven't got anything specific when we go in, then just ask your higher self, show me what I need to know right now. I will guide you through this as well. But you might have something specific. If you have, I recommend write it down. If there's something that you've been trying to manifest, or if there's something that you've been trying to clear for a long time and you haven't been able to, maybe make a note of that and write it down so you remember, and then you can map your progress over the next days or weeks, because again, the shifts are progressive as well. Once you clear one layer, then it's just going to start progressively clearing other layers. And so these decrees are basically just tools for accessing and for clearing. And again, they're really, really simple. What I'm just sharing with you now as an introduction, they're really simple. Obviously, we work with many decrees in the training. There's a lot of really, really powerful decrees for many, many different things, clearing contracts, etc., etc. So this is the Akashic mantra that we're going to use for accessing for self-inquiry that I'm going to guide you through. So it's just a little short mantra. And then we're going to do the little clearing mantra. And that's it. So are you ready? Are you guys ready? Let me just check a couple of messages that came through. Been working on them for a month also. Great, I'm sure this will help. Could we have a link for the YouTube video? Yes, I will. Send me an email. I guess you're all either on Facebook or you are on my email, because you've received the Zoom link. But I might need to be reminded. I've got a lot of stuff in my head at the minute, and I've got my training group next week as well, so I'm preparing for that. So you might just need to remind me, but I'll try to remember. All right, so get yourself comfortable. I recommend that you don't lie down, try to remain seated, so that you don't fall asleep, so you can be present with the journey. And this will be about maybe 20 minutes or something. So we might go over by 5 or so minutes, but hopefully not too much. All right. So it's just going to be a short, sweet little intro journey for you all. All right. So closing your eyes. And take a moment to drop into your breath. So it's really important that we really connect to the alchemy of our breath. So breathing in deeply through the nose and making your exhalations longer and slower. So when we're inhaling, we're activating that electrical charge. When we're exhaling, we're activating that magnetic charge. That's the anchor. So the inhale is building quantum. The exhale is relaxing. Inhale is active. Exhale, passive. So focusing on a few cycles of your breath. And then I invite you to maybe start Zen counting. So inhaling for the count of 4. and holding for the count of 2. Exhaling for the count of 6. Holding for the count of 2. So when we're counting and focusing on the breath, we're not thinking. So we're starting to already switch off the lower mind. So inhale for 4, hold for 2. Exhale 6, hold 2, and repeat. And just follow that cycle for a few rounds, giving yourself permission to completely relax. Give yourself permission to fully let go of control and trust and surrender to your own higher self-creator intelligence. And as you feel yourself relaxing the brow, relaxing the shoulders, feel that calm inner presence, and dropping your awareness down to your higher heart, just below your throat, in the center of your chest. This is the seat of the monad, the seat of the oversoul. And imagine there's a gold white platinum sphere of light above you, representing the diamond or spiritual sun, which is an organic plasma light. And feel the frequency of that light above you. And begin to draw it down to your higher heart, until eventually that sphere of light has been made smaller and sitting in the very center of your upper chest. And feel that light pulsating and permeating whole of your biological systems, allowing that light to enter the blood, the bones, skin, organs, the glands, and each of the 7 embodied chakras. And then imagine from this gold platinum sphere, a cord begins to extend downwards, extending down through the central body channel, through the lower chakras, down into the Earth Star chakra, 6 inches below your feet, and then all the way down into your Earth core chakra, centered at the inner Earth core, connecting and anchoring you to the higher organic frequencies of the 8th dimensional crystalline Gaia grid. So just take a moment to anchor your energy into the crystalline grid. And as you inhale and exhale, feel the frequencies of the crystalline grid penetrating through your plasma energy cord and drawing that energy back up through your cord, through the Earth Star, and up into the lower chakras, through your central body channel, and connecting once again at the higher heart. Allowing your body to fill with these crystalline frequencies, feeling the connection and expansion as your inner higher heart torus, that gold white sphere, begins to expand outward, creating a protective shield of scalar plasma light around you. creating all of this with intention. Some of you may be good at imagining, visualizing, but if not, just intend. Now I invite you to set your intentions to connect only to organic, higher living light that serves your true highest path and purpose, thus bypassing all inorganic, artificial holograms that attempt to distort your perceptions of truth. And as you relax, you may suddenly become aware of a crystal staircase in front of you that's magnetizing you. This crystalline staircase is the pathway to your personal Akashic field. So observing yourself as a quantum hologram or a soul body or a ghost body, moving inward from your higher heart, knowing that you're held within this vehicle of a plasma protective shield, and begin to climb this staircase upward, leading you to your own sacred portal, the inner sanctum of your own source code, your Akashic portal. And as you ascend this staircase, you may begin to feel yourself feeling lighter as you start to leave the physical body and you become a plasma body. And in front of you, your sacred portal. You may observe this as a portal of light or a temple of crystalline liquid light. It may appear to you as a library. Everybody will see this differently based on their own frequency. But knowing this is your personal sacred space, your personal Akashic field, your cosmic field of intelligence and light. And as you enter this sacred space, just take a moment to look around you and observe. And you may become aware of holographic scriptures, artifacts. It may appear to you as a database. You may become aware of holographic books or passageways, the portals within your portal, leading to other lifetimes or other reality fields, other timelines. Just take a moment to connect to your own true, eternal higher self, creator intelligence. Ask your higher self to step forward and be with you. Your inner soul guides, your living light team, the highest light and resonance. And you may become aware of a being presenting herself to you, or you may become aware of a team. This is your inner eternal creator team. And repeating after me this mantra, higher self, creator, I, stating your full name, now access my personal Akashic record so that I may receive divine wisdom, divine truth, information, and guidance. Shield and protect me in this space from any interferences. As a divine creator, I now activate a clear and pure channel of communication between my conscious, my unconscious, and my subconscious minds, so that all are aligned and working together in harmony and coherence, and all information is filtered directly through my superconscious field. Higher Self team, I acknowledge my past and the choices I have made, consciously or unconsciously, that resulted in the blocks and patterns that limit my current reality, or that compromise my integrity or my true, authentic self-expression. Higher Self team, show me what it is that I need to know right now in this moment, so that I may release all fears, blocks, and limitations, and move forward effortlessly, manifesting a higher and more soul-aligned, abundant timeline in integrity with my highest path and purpose. Show me. And once you've made that command, just spend a few moments in silent presence and allow any spiritual intelligence or guidance to come through. You may have a specific issue that you want to work with, so state the intention of that issue. Show me what's blocking me. Show me how this is blocking me. You may receive information immediately, messages, visions, or a knowing. If you don't receive anything, don't worry, don't give yourself a hard time. It may come later when your higher self intelligence knows you're ready to hear and integrate. And if you need to, make any notes as you receive information, as you receive guidance. You will all have your own intention. And now we're going to clear anything that is standing in your way of manifesting, anything that is blocking you, any pains, any wounding, any fears. And it's always good to recite out loud for maximum benefit. And again, we will adapt this mantra to your specific desires. So I will guide you, and then I'll leave you to input your own specific intentions. So higher self, creator intelligence. I now activate the highest God source creator frequencies of pure, organic, eternal, radiant love and light, so that I may cleanse and heal myself of, maybe input whatever it is that you're working with, This may be your clearing needs, your desires, your intentions. Or if there's nothing specific, you can simply say, clearing and healing myself of all that stands in the way of manifesting and integrating my goals, dreams, and desires. And you could also name those goals, dreams, and desires. I command this clearing and healing to take place with immediate effect across all planes, dimensions, and levels of consciousness, across all time and space, throughout all past, present, and future timelines, lifetimes, including parallel lifetimes, throughout all time and existence. As I stand in my own truth, my own sovereignty, I command the immediate removal and revocation of all negative soul contracts and agreements that I have made with any individual, group, organization, faculty, perceived authority, and any collective egregores that do not support eternal living life. I cancel, clear, and delete all unserving vows, contracts, soul bargains, any agreements that I made consciously or unconsciously, or that were made on my behalf through third parties, that have enmeshed and entangled me in any other timeline, or with artificial constructs. I break, cancel, and delete all past participations in black magic, in curses, deleting all spells, hexes, negative intentions that have been directed at me by others, or that I have created and directed at others, forgiving and liberating myself and my soul from all associated karmic debt and spiritual iniquity. I command the immediate removal of all entities and implants that are uninvited. I revoke all consents I made to any of the aforementioned permanently, liberating all aspects of my soul and energy trapped in other timelines and lifetimes. I liberate myself from all levels of mind control, all enslavement, all oppression, and block all further mind and astral hacking forever. I command the above to take place with immediate effect, forgiving myself for all past wrongdoing as I now choose to move forward and forgive all others who harmed me in any way. I set my soul free. I request this healing intention to be carried out with ease and grace, love and joy, for my highest path and purpose, for the greatest and highest good of all, in alignment and harmonic resonance with the highest divine cosmic order. As it is spoken, so it is commanded into existence and done. And take a moment to allow the power of that intention, that command, to drop down into your higher heart, into your field. And trust that it's already happening. It's working multidimensionally. And I invite you now to focus on that which you wish to manifest. And picture this manifestation vividly, feeling the frequency and the emotions as if you've already achieved and received this manifestation, whatever it is. And if this manifestation had a code or a symbol, what would that code or symbol be? And I invite you to drop that code or symbol, highest frequency, into your own field, so that you begin to integrate the intention through this power of this positive, proactive implant that is going to begin the process of activating this manifestation. And I invite you to set a realistic timeline of when you wish to receive. So you've already set the commands to allow anything that is unserving to clear your space so you can begin the process of manifesting. But it's equally important that you must take the right aligned action, because manifestation happens at the level of action. So doing whatever you need to do. So ask your higher self to show you going forward what you need to do on a physical level to embody this manifestation. And trust the process. Believe in your power. Believe in your manifester abilities. Feel yourself shifting in energy, feeling lighter, trusting and believing in your creator power. Making any final intentions and commands. And then thanking your higher self, your inner soul guide team. And whenever you're ready, begin to descend back down crystalline staircase. Closing your record down and affirming your location in your physical body. You can make commands such as, I now close my Akashic record and return fully to my physical reality. And feel that grounding cord anchoring you as you slowly bring yourself back from this journey. And if you have some water next to you, I invite you to drink some water to ground. You may need to squeeze your arms or rub your palms together, give yourself a little massage. Sometimes we can journey quite deeply, even though it's a really simple journey, we can go quite deep. And I would really love it if you can all just give me a little sign on the chat that you're back, even if it's just a thumbs up or a love heart, just so I know that you've all come back into the room. And if anybody wants to share anything in the chat, please feel free to share. I know some of you might prefer privacy, some of you might have gone quite deep. It's okay, you obviously don't need to share, or it's good to stay in that really nice space. But if anybody wants to share, that would be amazing. I do love hearing people's journeys. Diamond heart, okay, that's deep. Thank you, love and bliss. Good. Okay. Yeah. And if you don't want to share in the chat, I understand. Again, as I said, some journeys are really private for some people. Then whenever you feel, just reply to the emails that I've sent you, or to when I send the recording out via email, just reply to the email or send me. You've all got my contact on WhatsApp, so you can all add me privately on WhatsApp as well and send me a message. I'd love to hear your experience. I love listening to how people journey really deep. Dropped the sign for infinity into my field. Beautiful. Thank you so much. Wonderful. Saw the reason why I have so much negative self-talk. Brilliant. That's amazing. That's really, really deep. That's really good. Love that. Yeah, good. Good. So yeah, let's see how you're feeling over the next days. As I said, it can be really subtle, but it can also be very progressive. So you might just notice subtle shifts, like you're not triggered anymore. But know that the more you practice that, it's a super simple journey. The more you practice tuning into, I've also got on my YouTube channel as well, a little, I think it's maybe a 6-minute journey into your Akashic field as well. There's multiple ways we can get into our Akashic field, and every time I do it very differently, but I wanted to make it a little bit more practical with a staircase. Normally we're going up in a Merkaba, but on my YouTube channel, there's this 6-minute accessing your Akashic record, and you can just use that and tap into that. And once you've learned, it's a super simple process. Once you've learned it, you can just do it in your own time, in your own space, and use the little mantras and maybe write your own mantra based on, what I've invited for you, because it's going to be personal to each of you. But knowing that you are, you can access this at any time, and the more you do it, the deeper you'll go. So yeah, beautiful. Thank you all for sharing. So I just want to finish by saying, so just to summarize, obviously this whole program that my work is rooted in liberation and sovereignty. And obviously we're working with our own living library. And so summarizing what we've just gone through is that the Akashic field is not an ancient metaphysical concept. It's a living, accessible intelligence system that bridges esoteric wisdom and emerging science. So from the concept of Laszlo with his quantum vacuum to shamanic energetic archive, from DNA cellular memory to fifth dimensional mental body, the records are basically the gateway to our deepest truth. It's really, really beautiful. And we are our own alchemists. We have the ability to transform these multiple layers of density and distortion so we can better discern and intuit. It's now more than ever, with the launch of AI and how it's taking over everything. There's literally no escaping it now. There's never been a greater time to be able to discern and intuit. So the more we practice this work, the better. And I'll finish by just a brief overview of the Akashic training. Ultimately, this is why, I'm here sharing this with you. For anybody who's drawn to learn more about this, you can also email me privately, and I'll send you the link. But also you can just go on my website. It's just my name, miarenna.com, and you can go into the Academy side, and it'll bring up the Akashic training, and you can have, there's a lot of information about it there. But ultimately, the system encompasses, just to give you a brief overview, we're going into multidimensional trauma and energetic distortion assessment, which is basically the reading. So this is identifying where fragmentation, entity and implant interference, all the distortions are operating across our multidimensional body, our own and our clients. So it's not just teaching you to do this for your clients, it's experiential. So you will get to do all of this for yourself, going into past life karmas, ancestral inheritance, all the fragmentations, the multidimensional distortions, everything. We literally cover everything. We're going into activating the dormant channels, so going into oversoul and antakarana restoration. Antakarana basically being the higher channels that are connected to the kundalini energy, the true kundalini, not the false light serpent kundalini that a lot of new age are kind of plugged into. So we're going into all of this energetic retrieval. And so this is the progressive repair of the higher heart gateway, which is the seat of the monad, the seat of the oversoul, and obviously where the antakarana bridge is connected into the thymus gland. So it's how our higher intelligence is embodied, how we integrate it into our physical reality through the higher heart, which is the 8th dimensional morphogenetic chakra. And it's the antakarana bridge as well, or some people call it the God spark, but it anchors through the thymus gland into the biological body. So again, it's all connected to the three brains, the mind brain, the heart brain, and the gut brain. So it's literally all intrinsically linked. And then we go into the Merkaba reconfigurations, which is electromagnetic coherence, working with the Merkaba basically represents the electromagnetic current, the male upward pointing current and the female downward pointing current, for those of you familiar with Merkaba. So this is going into the holistic light body realignment, entity clearing, repatterning the geometric fields so that we can create that stable container for this advanced work. We go into 12th dimensional Maharic shield and DNA template activation, again morphogenetic field restoration, 12-strand DNA activation so we can switch on these higher channels. And finally the quantum recoding, which is identity shifting. This is basically the multidimensional integration and embodiment. So that is basically the organic rewiring of consciousness, shifting our identity, elevating our energetic signature and embodying the true self, and of course unlocking our quantum potential. So it's a really, really powerful program. I know some of you may be interested, some of you may not, but either way, it is an invitation. If you're called, the training is ongoing, so you can join at any time, but I will also be starting the next cohort at the end of June. But you can either join the weekly lives, the 2-hour sessions every Wednesday, or you can catch up and do the self-paced and study in your own time, which is what half the team who are doing it now. Some are self-paced and others are joining the live. So again, it's a choice how you want to learn. It is intense work. It is really powerful work. And it's a really, really beautiful. So as I said, it's designed to elevate both you and your community. So it helps to shift, taking your healing business into another level, scaling your business, scaling your income through this higher level work, because we're not working at $50 and $100 healings. We're really going really deeper, and this work attracts transformation ready clients. It doesn't attract your passive healers, the people who want to lie down and just receive healing through Reiki. It attracts people ready to do the work. We're really going into shadow work. So it attracts those people, and those people, the ones who are actively ready for transformation, they're the ones that will invest in themselves. They'll invest in this program. And by the program, I mean they'll invest in if you do the training, they will invest in because I'm basically teaching you how to work with packages and scale your packages. It's a program that we're working with. It's not just a one-off healing. It's literally a system. So it's really, really powerful. Anyway, thank you so much for your time, for joining today. If anybody's got any final messages they want to send me, please drop them in the chat. Always get the same memory when I was in a nightclub, when I was in my teens, and a woman came up to me and a stranger said that she can read energy and said, my future will be okay, but I won't be successful, just have a mediocre life. Okay, that's interesting. So it's the, sorry, just to Fiona, which it's the Akashic Record Master Training Diploma, basically. And if you click on that, and the other ones are just like on-demand webinars I've done, but that one, the top one, the Akashic Record Master is the one. So just to come back to Deborah, yeah, somebody's told you that that's potentially could be a false light implant. Somebody's implanted you with a belief that you're going to have a mediocre life. So are you having a mediocre life? Is your life mediocre, or did you not take on that belief? I hope you didn't take on that belief, and I hope that you have changed your life. But yeah, just delete that. Delete, cancel, clear, delete that. Exactly that, what that person told you. It's not true. It's false. You can do what and be whatever you want because you're the creator. You are the creator of your reality. So whatever anybody's ever told you, yeah, okay, so you cancel, clear, delete that from your subconscious immediately. Go back into your Akashic record, cancel, clear, delete that in the back of in your Akashic record. And just every time you hear yourself saying, you might need to reprogram it a few times, but every time you hear yourself thinking, just keep saying, it's not true. This is not true. This is not true. It's a false belief, false belief, false belief, false belief. And just change it. My life is awesome. My life is amazing. I'm a powerful manifester. Just keep reprogram it. Absolutely. Yeah. This is the thing, is that people can implant us with these false beliefs, as our parents do, as our grandparents do, as our teachers do, as the system does. You're very welcome. Yeah, as the system does. They're all just implanting us with false beliefs that literally distort our reality. So delete all of it, which is basically what we just did with the revoking consents to taking on all of these energies and all of these implants and things through belief systems. All right, everyone, thank you so much for joining. I hope you have all enjoyed today. Make sure you drink plenty of water and ground and just observe yourself over the next days, because there could be some, some shifts. Thank you. Yeah, some of you saying that you've loved it. Really good. I'm really glad that you enjoyed it. And yeah, I will send the replay out. Some of you are in the WhatsApp group. I'll send the replay in the WhatsApp group, but I will also email it tomorrow as well. And yeah, thank you so much. I had a few messages coming through again. Yeah, feel free to hop off whenever you're ready. I'm just going to read the messages. Thank you, loved it. Many thanks. This was awesome. Lots of learning. Yeah, absolutely, lots of learning. This is mega expansive, this work. It's literally, but it's a 5-month program, but it's a weekly. And as I said, it is intense, but it's very, very, very powerful. So yeah. All right, lovelies. Have a beautiful rest of your day. And everybody who's watching on the replay as well, yeah, drop me an email. Let me know how you get on and what your experiences were. And I look forward to tuning in with you all again very soon. Bye, everyone.